Alright. We're gonna try this again. Internet's crap. I'm using my phone. So, responding to comments are going to be a little delayed since my tablet is just doing its own crazy game. And it looks like the picture's a little blurred. So you guys are going to have to forgive me. I am working on my phone. Anyways, decorative tie-off comes up a lot. I've seen 2 or 3 people ask about it in the past couple of days, and I know more than that. The last month or so, I've asked about decorative wrap tie-off. And the original video that I had mentioned it on was like an hour-long video that went on YouTube, and I deleted it. I want to do short versions of these videos, not these long, drawn-out hour-and-a-half sessions. Nobody wants to sit there and watch a YouTube video for an hour and a half and listen to BS in the middle of it. So, this is that challenge wrap for this past month that I did. I can't help that it's blurring it right now. You guys are just going to have to deal with it. Sorry. Let me know if the broadcast is getting interrupted or anything. Like I said, this is going off my phone, and I turned the internet off in hopes that it would work better. So I need y'all to talk to me. Let me know if you guys can see it or not. Anyway, so this is the decorative wrap tie-off for last month's challenge. I literally did this in like 4 to 6 hours, not even. Threw it together the day before it was due, because I was very sick all of July. But as you can see, it's still held on by the double-sided sticky tape that's happening here. It's just a little 4-inch wrap that I did. 8-axis chevron. So I'm just going to use this as an example to tie off. Alright, there's multiple ways to do tie-offs. There's multiple ways to skin the cat. You can put CP on your thread. You can put epoxy on the thread. You can do it without anything on it. My advice to you is try it a couple different ways. If you find a way that works for you and you're comfortable with it, don't change it unless you're just testing something. But do it however you're comfortable. Today, I'm not putting CP on this as I normally would. As one, it's NCP thread. I don't put CP on thread that doesn't require it. So if I've mixed NCP with like Madeira, then I'll do it. But if it's all NCP thread, I'm not putting in CP on it. I'm not wasting my CP on that. If you're more comfortable doing it, by all means go for it, but not gonna hurt it. Before you tie it off, you really need to make sure that everything is straight, aligned, everything's packed. You don't want any little areas. Like I said, you guys can barely see it because the camera kind of sucks. It's blurry. There's some little spots here and there where the threads, the last couple passes didn't quite pack up as pretty as I would normally like them. Since this is a test wrap, we will pretend that this is perfect. Okay, it's not in any way, shape, or form, but we will pretend it is. So when you go to tie it off, you need to keep in mind roughly where you want your tie off to be to start. You always want, when you do your tie off, that's where you're going to hide all your blemishes and your faults and your issues. So if you have an area where it's looking really, really bad, then that's where you really want to cover it up with it. Your tile. I'm just doing straight black today because that's what I've got on. This is what I was just using for a guide wrap. So anyway, so I'm gonna look at this. Okay, this one's pretty ugly. He's got threads coming all the way out here. I'm gonna start my tie off on this point. This is where I'm gonna start it. I'm I'm going to put it here. So you guys are going to see the version without CP, without any kind of anchorage. Like, this is just raw thread sitting on this thing. This is the most scariest version of doing it. Okay. That's where my tie-off's going to start. So, roughly, this is how long I want my entire tie-off to be. I try to do it with the size of the... I'll try to match my tie-off length with the size of the blank versus the size of the wrap as well. You know, this big of a blank, you can get away with that big of a tie-off. If you've got a smaller blank, you know, I try to do smaller tie-off sections. You know, something that's less than an inch. If you have really, really long tie-offs, it means that your pattern is screwed up kind of further out than it needs to be. You just need to watch how you're coming off your tape. That's what happens. Alright, so my first couple of turns, all I'm doing, I've got normal tension on. I'm not doing anything crazy. If you hang out or you are in this group a lot and you hear me talk about anything, my magic number with anything is always 5. Some people will do 3 turns and that's secure enough for them, but 5 is my number. You don't have to have any sort of... It's just whatever works for you. And guys, if you guys are commenting, I can't see them right now. So, and if you're silent, then that's okay too. But I'm just letting you know, in case somebody's talking to me, I can't see the comments. I see a few people are watching, but that's about it. Alright, so I've got that much on there. Like a couple millimeters, nothing crazy. At this point, I'm going to do a couple turns on my tensioner just to tighten it down. A few more turns, tighten it down. A few more turns, tighten it down. This is just the way I learned to do it and got comfortable doing it. Couple more turns, tighten it down. Now, I don't want to tighten the thread so much to the point that it wants to pop, because then that would defeat the whole purpose of this. But alright, I'm comfortable with that big of a band before I start doing my tie-off. Now, because I have so much tension on this thread right now, I have to put the O-ring back on the chuck to keep it held still. And razor blade. Okay. All of my decorative wraps have a popsicle stick underneath of them with double-sided sticky tape. Popsicle is so I can cut through the double-sided sticky tape and not worry about cutting into the blank or the grip, depending on what I'm working on. Now, when you do it the way that I do it, you have to be careful you don't accidentally roll this backwards and undo that thread, because then you're really going to mess yourself up. And this tape's been on here for a little bit, so it's going to take a little while to get it off. Here we go. I started taping my popsicle sticks with painter's tape, because double-sided sticky tape actually peels right off the painter's tape pretty well. Now, here's one of these things that happens to me all the time. You see where my popsicle stick is? This is where it ended. It started up here. What happened is this tape, my anchor tape here, pulled itself this way from all the tension I use on it. Fun times. That's okay. You can clean up double-sided sticky tape off stuff. It's not that big a deal. But when you see that happen, one, it sucks, because now you've got to be super careful when you're cutting this section right here. And you also have to be stupid careful, because that means there's a lot of tension on that wrap, and that wrap can jump. You'll hear people talk about it jumping. You guys might be lucky enough to hear it jump, because I got a feeling it will. Anyway, so I try to focus on getting all this crap off. And anybody that's joining right now, I cannot see any comments if you guys are commenting. So I promise I'm not ignoring you. I cannot see them. I will answer questions afterwards. Ooh. Try not to rock the boot here. Okay. I keep hitting the box, nothing's going on. You have to be really careful too when you're doing this not to cut the band that you have holding the thread in place. Don't let the razor blade accidentally slip on you. You will be angry. I've done it before. This is when you need to say a little bit of thread prayer to the thread gods and hope that you didn't make them mad. If you do the CP route, you don't have to stress about this as much, because obviously you glued it in place. If you do the epoxy route, obviously it's not going to jump because you've got epoxy on it and it's glued in place. But sometimes you just have to do it this way. And I highly recommend people doing it this way so you learn to deal with it without what I call the safety nets. Now, if you've been working on a wrap for days or weeks or months even, obviously put CP or epoxy on it. You don't want to redo your 60-hour endeavor. Been there, done that. It's heartbreaking. Okay. I got lucky. It didn't jump. Alright, so now you have what I call the tassel syndrome happening here. Take something and comb it back out. Try to make sure that you don't get your threads underneath the tie-off section. You don't want to have white threads coming up through it. And these little sections that have tape stuck to them and they're not coming out, just cut them out. You don't need. Alright, so you should have what looks like a little bit of a tassel hanging out going on here. I've joked around with Wes quite a few times saying that one of these days I'm going to make a rod that has this just left there. I'm really not though. At this point, okay, this is all that's holding this on there, okay? If you start trying to like yank these super hard, you're going to start moving threads over here. Because this version, like I said, we have no CP on it, so this is just raw thread hanging out. You need to take a really, really sharp razor blade. Just pull up little sections. Don't be in a rush. Don't try to make it perfect. It doesn't matter. Okay? So you're just going to take up little sections and you're going to cut them at an angle. Now, I said really sharp. This is not a really sharp one. I've yet to buy razor blades, so I'm having to reuse some old ones. But for this purpose, just feather it. You want to cut them at an angle. You don't want to do a blunt cut off. If you do a blunt cut off, you're going to have a lumpy tie off. You'll see your threads underneath of them. They don't all have to be even. They don't all have to be pretty. Just cut them off. Just make sure that you don't get so in the groove of it that you accidentally cut your band. I promise, if you do that, you only do it once. And don't worry if they're all different lengths. As long as they're shorter than what your tie off where it ends, it doesn't matter. So if you've got some that are super long and they're way out here, You know, you can cut them off if you want, or you can leave them. Okay. See, I've got 2 here. I don't want them that long. Alright. And these, just for demo purposes, I'm cutting those. Okay. So, at this point, they're all angled. You may want to get a little piece of tape and just kind of go over those threads, because when you cut them at an angle, you fuzz them up. If you're working with a black tie off and you've got a lot of white thread in there, you're going to want to do this step, because I promise you those fuzzies will show up. See how much I pulled off of there? I don't know if you can or not with that bad video, but okay. And there is a section right here, and I highly doubt you guys can see it, where my threads didn't lay down side by side perfectly. With a little bit of just, now I picked up this burnishing tool, and I don't know why. Yeah, just pack it. If you see that, just go ahead and pack it. Don't try to burnish out a section. If you can see solid white in between black, don't try to burnish it. You need to try to pack it. Okay? Burnishing only helps you so much. Alright, now. Okay. So, I'm going to take the O-ring off so it's easier to turn. Some people are going to put it under power at this point. I don't like doing that. I just hand turn it. It's all up to you. Now, I didn't change the tension from where I tightened it down so tight. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why it takes a little bit more effort to turn this rod. And I do that on purpose because, one, I don't want those threads having any chance of coming loose anywhere within the wrap. And this is where you need to be paying attention to what's going on here. Because once you start coming down off those threads, there's different levels. If you're trying to do it super fast, you may end up having to do a second layer. Okay, I've got a big white spot hanging out here. This is not perfect tie off by no means. But just take your time coming down off of these threads. I am going to take the tension off just a tad. Keep going. Okay. Alright. For shits and giggles. I'm just cutting off those. Alright, I'm drastically loosening the tension at this point. Because I've pretty much covered up 99% of the threads. There's one or two little black ones poking their heads out here. I'm just going to go to that white line. Okay. I've got one little guy who is hanging out here. I need him to go away. In retrospect, I probably should have used white so it was a little bit easier for you guys to see it, but with the video quality, I don't know how much of it you can actually see. You should always have your tie off right beside you and not be looking around for it like I am right now. Here it is on the floor. Well, this is a gnarled up one. It's not the one I was using earlier. Okay. Should work fine. Remember that other one went off too. Put your tie off in. Okay. It's ridiculous that I still can't see comments. Guys, I'm sorry. I cannot see anything you guys are saying. I guess it's because I'm not on the internet on my phone. I've got fuzzy sticking to the tape that's on here. Ta-da! There's your tie off. Now, like I said, I don't know what you guys can see or not see, but there's a tiny bit of definition right here at the beginning where you can see where the pattern is that we covered up. But as you come further this way, because you feathered out and pulled those threads apart, it disappears, it goes away. The tension that I put on mine, that extreme tension that I was talking about, to me, in my brain, you know, I can't prove whether or not it actually works or not, but it helps to lay those threads down. Like I said, this is just how I'm comfortable doing it. Now, if you go with the CP route and you said, hey, I'm going to put CP on this wrap before I go to tie it off, no worries. What you need to do is make sure that you plan out where your tie off is going to start on both sides. Because if the tie off is going to start here, you don't want to put CP all the way over here. Because when you put CP on thread, it makes it hard. Okay, it's glue. You're gluing. All it is glue. And when you go to start trying to comb out those threads, you'll get little white flakes that will go all over the place. It'll make trying to tie it off that much more pain. If you do the epoxy route with doing a thin layer of epoxy on it before you tie it off, it works. I've done it all 3 different ways. Once again, you've got to be mindful of where you're actually starting your tie off, because you don't want to put CP or epoxy past the point where you're starting it. And that's it. Now, if you've got, you know, if you wanted to add trim bands and stuff into this, you really need to plan it out. I just did a basic little tie off there with black, because that's what I had on the thing. You know, you can add it in there. I have actually, if I'm doing a super intricate one, the one that we did for Kevin Brotts at Get Fit, that was a 2-layer tie off. I went back over this with Madeira on his to do his fade on that one. I am not good enough to do that on the first go round. I will happily admit that. So, but that's how you do a tie off, or that's how I do a tie off. And the ways that I know how to do it. Like I said, I can't see your comments or anything, so I'm going to go back and look at them and try to answer questions after I close the feed. But other than that, y'all have a great day.